I want to welcome everyone who is on the call right now, who will be joining the call, or who will be watching this later. This is a small business informational video that Jason and I put together to talk to you about the power of video. And the reason we're bringing this to you today is because we've both had conversations with business owners of all shapes and sizes about the power of video in increasing the integrity of your brand, the awareness of your brand, the trust in your brand and your business, and different ways that you can do that. And there's a lot of misconceptions about what video should be, or how it should be created, or where it should be shared. And so we're going to bust some of that down today. My name is Tanya. I am the owner and operator of an singular woman-owned business called Back2Basics. And I'm a brand manager. So I kind of oversee the story and the life of small business brands from inception through growth through to retirement. Jason is somebody that I met a couple of years ago through networking, who has taken the power of video to new heights. He is the owner of JB Video Marketing and one of my dearest business partners. I refer a lot to Jason with regards to taking the visibility of somebody's brand to a whole new level and making it an easy process. So, Jason, did you want to say anything about yourself before we go to the next?
I think you pretty much covered it. I do a lot of work with small businesses. Is kind of where my sweet spot is. I don't really have a specific industry niche right now. It's kind of all over the place, as we were kind of just talking before we got started here, about the projects that I'm working on right now. And it's kind of all over the place, from agriculture to home construction to elder care to like, it's all over the map. So.
Yeah. So even if you're a one-person operation or a multi-million-dollar corporation that has got multiple locations, Jason is somebody that can help you with that imagery. So anyway, today's agenda. So we're going to break down again and just kind of reaffirm for you why it is so valuable that you find some way to incorporate video into your content strategies throughout the year. It doesn't have to be this big, laborious thing, and you don't have to do it every day. We're going to show you how branded video can help, again, either build, create, or support brand integrity when it comes to your business. We're going to cover 3 different common styles of video. There are lots of different ways out there. There are even kind of hybrids, but we're going to talk about selfie style videos. Probably the simplest thing that you can do is in the palm of your hand, and 99% of us have this in our hand at any given moment, right? There's also the cartoon or the animated video. And then there's that professionally produced storytelling video, which Jason is so well known for. We're going to talk about the benefits of each of these and where you could use them and how you can use them in your marketing. Tools and resources that can help you simplify that journey. It doesn't have to be scary and complicated. And then we're going to share some additional information with you at the end. So if you can stay tuned, we're going to try to make this nice and short and sweet and tight and filled with information. And then we're going to present you with another opportunity with a workshop, a hands-on workshop that we're going to be hosting in the Minnetonka area end of September, that will actually walk you through how you can incorporate this into your business. And there's some really cool things happening within that workshop. Again, we'll talk to you more about that at the end of the webinar. So why is video so important to brands? Jason, what can you tell us here?
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about what makes video effective in the first place, right? I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we've got 5 senses, right? And most media, you're engaging one sense, right? If you look at a photo, you're looking at just a photo, right? You're using your sight, right? And with the video, you're using your hearing and you're using your sight. And people who kind of study this sort of thing suggest that whenever you engage more than one sense within some sort of experience, the more apt you are to kind of pay attention to it, listen to it, hear it, and kind of retain the message, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of stats out there. I mean, all you really have to do is Google, video for business or things like that, and it'll cough up a lot of stuff with stats on it, right?
Yeah.
It's but I think, and I think some of it, it's the internet, so get a shovel, but it's and kind of consider the source that and scrutinize the source where you're getting stuff from off the internet. But I think some of it you can kind of take with a grain of salt, but there's also some stats out there, or some data out there that shows that video really kind of works well with this sort of thing. Website developers, when they're building websites, one of the things that they're looking for, and one of the ways that they'll kind of get people to kind of stay on a website longer, is to use video, right?
Yep.
And with the idea that the longer someone sits with a website and kind of pokes around and looks around through the website, the more apt that person is to buy from that particular site, right?
Or even dive deeper, right? That's why
exactly,
like your TikToks and your YouTubes are so addictive. You get on there, you look at one thing, and now you're off on a tangent to 3 other things. Yeah,
exactly. But they're saying that with video, you put it on a website, you can kind of increase those conversion rates by up to 80% when you've got video on your website.
Yes.
And with social media posts, you're getting probably 40 to 50% more attention and more views on average with a post with video than, say, a photo or just a text or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I found the stat about with social media. The one thing that I found was more interesting when they first start implementing video. Well, they were like, okay, pictures everywhere, pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was all about the video. And again, under the same concept that they'll be there longer, they're going to engage more. But what we found out was that we were actually retaining more as well. Social media comes at you so fast and hard. Like you got 15 seconds, sometimes 7 seconds to digest information, and we can only hold so much information. So 2-3 days later, you might not remember what you just saw. However, if you were engaged with the video, now that retention space is even longer. So we're seeing it in social media as well as like you said, on the websites and the blogs, and not just to hold their attention, but to keep the retention of that information longer as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah. But even, outside of those stats, right, that we just kind of talked a little bit about, when we're talking about, businesses and small businesses, we kind of know kind of the KLT factor, right? Do they know you? Do they like you? Do they trust you? Right? That's kind of the golden rule in terms of whether or not somebody is going to choose to buy from you, right? That's kind of the bottom line.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think it's, when you think about, well, how can video kind of help a business? I mean, I think about the KLT factor, right? And think about plug video into that. Will that help build that knowing, that liking, that trust? Or will it degrade it? And I think in most cases, it's probably going to help, right?
Yeah.
Even something simple, right? Like a short video that's, that just introduces yourself, right? Whether it's shot off of, maybe it's just a bonbon video or a soapbox video where you're just sending them just email them a quick video link and you just kind of just introducing yourself, right?
Yeah.
The impact that might have on a potential client, right? Versus just firing off an email, right?
Right. Should we jump into some of the different styles?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So let's talk today about, we're going to show you some examples. These aren't necessarily ones that Jason or I produced, although there are a few in there of the examples that we're going to show you. But we also wanted to pull some common examples that are on TV, on the internet, that we see frequently today. So we're going to talk about their benefits, where you should use them, how you should use them. Let's look at the first one here. Who doesn't know Loomly at this point?
Yeah, exactly. So Lumi, I think, and we'll talk a little bit about why I kind of decided to kind of just include this spot kind of to talk a little bit about. But I think this spot, I think, kind of plays or kind of demonstrates what's so important or what's powerful about self-shot video, right?
Yeah.
I think the kind of the big superpowers that self-shot videos are kind of the DIY videos. It has the perception of being more personal, right? It has the perception of being more authentic, right? There's kind of like this, what you see is what you get with the self-shot video, right? And they can also be created quickly, right? You know, it's something that you can sit down, and I think, you know, one of the things that we've got out of the pandemic is that people have kind of become a little bit more comfortable about sitting in front of their own webcam on their tablet or on their laptop, right? And kind of being able to not only participate in a Zoom call, but yeah, they can even take that one step further and just kind of fire off a quick video about whatever their area of expertise is, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think they're great for short, straight to the point type of content, right? Like, I've got something to share real quick. Here's what you need to know type of thing.
And they feel more authentic.
Exactly. And I think, you know, you know, one of the things about, and this is kind of why I'm picking this kind of, this is what kind of caught my ad about this Lumi commercial. This is a national ad campaign, right? So if anyone's kind of doubting the effectiveness of self-shot video, well, here's a national brand, a national ad campaign that's using self-shot video on a national ad campaign. And it isn't probably, I would, you know, I don't know a whole lot about Lumi, but I'd be willing to bet that it isn't because they didn't have enough cash in the budget to be able to produce a full-blown ad, right? I mean, if you're doing a national ad campaign, the dollars are probably there to do something on some level, right?
Yeah.
But they chose this. They chose the.
Go ahead.
They chose to go about it using this type of format, and I think it's mainly because it's speaking to a specific audience, right? A specific person, right? And it's kind of a very no nonsense. I have something to tell you real quick. Here's what you should know. Take it or leave it. Nickel's worth of free advice, right?
Right. And she made it very clear. So and Jason didn't know this when he selected the video, but one of the kids that my children went to school with, this is their aunt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she's an OB, she's an OB doctor.
Okay.
Or no, not OB. I think she's skin doctor, whatever they're
dermatologist.
I think she's a dermatologist, but anyway,
okay.
she is a doctor, and she was getting frustrated with the quality of stuff that's out there and all of the ingredients that are in there and what that's doing to our skin and our health, and they're still not effective. She actually started this campaign. I think it was on it might have been on a TikTok or something like that, where she was just doing self-shot videos herself. There was no branding around it. And she just was very compelled and very, what's the word I'm looking for? She just knew she had something great here and she wanted to share it with people. And the video is very quick and to the point. It's what's the problem? How does this solve it? How do I get it into your hands? Exactly. And when they became this bigger thing, you're right. They could have gone to a bigger, much more polished video, but she continues to do these self-shot videos. People on her staff are doing the self-shot videos, and they're just wrapping their branding around it. Something, this Smell Better Longer and Lumi on the side. That's something somebody could do in Canva within a couple of minutes. So
you're absolutely right. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a great example. Love that. What about this one here?
This again too, this I think speaks to just a little bit of the fact that here's kind of an ad that kind of combines, I think, kind of all three different types of or ways to make a video, right? There's animation, and then there's also, this is put together probably with some sort of professional editor or production company, but then it's also using self-shot video too, right?
Yeah.
So again, I think I put these out here to kind of demonstrate that self-shot video isn't just a toy, right? It's something that can be used that that can kind of get your message across and can get people engaged with your business and what you do, right? So yeah, I think it's both of those. I think are good examples to show kind of the effectiveness of, or the kind of the power of DIY or self-shot video. That you don't necessarily need to hire someone like myself or a larger production company to kind of get your point or get your message out there on video stuff.
So this part here with the graphics and the graphic design, and that might have been produced, like you said, by a professional, but maybe gave them the framework then to, again, take it to a low cost software where they plug in that selfie video that we saw in the middle of that. So this is a great hybrid example. Here's another one.
And this would be more animation. But if we could back up a little bit, we'll just kind of finish up talking a little bit about DIY.
Sure.
So I think, so I think a little bit, right? We talked a little bit about kind of the strengths of it. I would say a couple of things to be aware of if you're going down this format is you kind of want to keep these videos kind of short, right? Yeah. I think if it's just you kind of talking into a camera with, kind of a generic background, asking your audience to stay tuned for 10 minutes or even 5 minutes is kind of a big ask, right? You kind of want to keep these maybe, I don't know, what would you say, Tanya? Maybe 2 minutes tops?
It depends on where they're looking at it. So we find that if they're on a website, people are more apt to look at like a 2 to 3 minute video. They'll sit through that. But if they're on social media, you're looking at 30 to 60 seconds tops before you start losing their interest, unless you're showing cute little babies and animals or dance moves.
And I would say, exactly. And I would say this is probably also kind of the other limiting factor with self-shot video is that you're kind of, to a certain extent, I think you're kind of limited in terms of the type of imagery that you can share. You're kind of into kind of just a talking headshot and kind of just other simple shots, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very straightforward method, which is for a lot of things I think is great. But I think if you're looking at a longer video or maybe a video that has other visual elements, this maybe not the way to go at that point, right?
Yeah,
but I think
you need a bigger scope. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say about. But and again, you can use self-shot videos for a lot of things, right? We see it all the time on social media, as we just looked at. We're seeing these in national TV campaigns, right, and national ad campaigns.
Yeah.
You can use self-shot video for things that we'll talk a little bit. You can use it for a video business card, right, which is just a 30-second video that kind of just explains who you are, just introduces yourself to the world, right?
Yeah.
Who are you and what you do, right? And what makes you unique. And then also testimonials. I think self-shot testimonials, I think, are great. Again, because you're utilizing the main superpower of it, that it's short to this point, it's easy to make, and it comes across as very authentic.
Authentic, right? It's very intimate. It's very personal. Yeah.
Yep. And it's not super polished. So there's a certain feeling of what you see is what you get.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So onto your, I call them cartoons. You call them.
Yes, we can call them cartoons. Why not? They are cartoons. Animated videos, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There you go. Okay.
Yeah. So I think with animated videos, I mean, these are fun to watch. I mean, this is a video right here that we're looking at right now that is talking about IRAs, which is probably one of the least fun things on the planet to talk about, right?
Numbers.
But yeah, exactly. But here we are, we're talking about, individual retirement accounts. And I'm kind of just sitting here looking at my screen, kind of just looking at all the bright colors and fun imagery that we've got. And it's, again, kind of the superpower with animated videos is that it can take, it's kind of, the limiting factor is the imagination of the creator in terms of what you can put on screen, right?
Right.
So it's really good at explaining complicated subjects within and kind of breaking it down into easier to understand stuff, right?
Right.
So I think, and that's really kind of the main superpower of an animated video is the fact that it's fun to watch and that it can break down a complicated topic to kind of talk about and kind of make it easier to understand.
I
And
like
again,
that you picked this example for a couple of reasons. One, that like the animation you said is engaging for somebody that is not like me. Numbers just don't, not there. But it also speaks to the fact that there's this misconception out there that if you are in certain industries, you can't do video. You don't, I don't know how to implement it. There's too many restrictions. And yes, there are some industries that are more heavily regulated. However, there are certain things that you can talk about to show your worth, your value, and build that knowledge-based integrity. So this is one of those examples. I think that's great.
Yeah. And I think I would say if you're in financial services or anything where it's just, if you find yourself talking for long periods of time about how something works, I think this could be a great way to go in terms of using a video that is going to be engaging for a prospective client or just an audience at all, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
What do we have up next here?
Yeah. And I think this would, again, another way to use animation is incorporating it or integrating it with live action video. So a video like this right here, this is all live action video, right? It's somebody making cookies, but then they're also adding on animation to kind of help explain a little bit. Again, this is a video on how to pay off debt, right? So it's, again, not a really super riveting conversation, right? But it's a very creative way to kind of get your point across and to kind of get people to kind of understand what it is that you're talking about.
That's a very creative way to get your point across. I've heard about this paying your debt off in the avalanche approach. They've been talking about that on the news for weeks, and it's like blah, 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 blah. I like this. This cookie scenario. This caught my attention. Yes, I would watch this. Snowball strategy. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So you're right. It can take very complicated things and even excite somebody like me. Now I just want to go eat cookies, but okay.
Yeah, exactly. Now I would say, exactly. Now I would say the downside of these is probably, unless we're making a Pixar movie, I would say kind of the emotional element, I think, is harder to kind of capture in an animated video.
Yeah.
Particularly within, like I said, if we're excluding Pixar or something, high budget, kind of like that, but kind of something more along the examples that we're seeing, it's, I think, kind of, if you've got an emotional story to tell where you're kind of pulling on people's emotion, kind of heartstrings a little bit, I think an animated approach might be a little bit hard. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I think it's a little bit harder to do. And I think it's,
from an educational or informational standpoint, these would be great supplemental things to kind of help drive home the content or the information that you're trying to share. If you're looking at, like you said, trying to tug at the heartstrings and pull somebody through that experience and pull somebody through that story and why they want to work with you on a level like that, then you are looking at if we're saying the same thing, then we're looking at more of the humanized nature of it. You want either that selfie or somebody to taking the video so that there's people involved. Okay.
Yeah, and that's my opinion on it.
I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Yeah. Now, if you talk to an animator, they're probably saying, "Hold on," but but yeah, you see this type of videos. I think in explainer videos, in training videos, you see this a lot. This approach a lot. And like we said, anything that tackles difficult subject matter that's hard to kind of wrap your head around. So,
yep. I completely agree with you. And I think that goes through any visual thing, when I'm doing graphic design, that's one of the big things that we've been kind of watching over the last few years is what imagery grabs somebody's attention. And more often than not, it's something that is of a living thing with a face, whether that's an animal or a person. They seem to resonate more deeply more often. So yeah, I completely concur with with what you're saying
Yeah.
there. Okay,
Good.
so let's talk a little bit about this one.
Yes.
This is one
So,
that
yeah.
you shot.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about, before we get to this, let's talk a little bit about professional video, right?
Okay.
So when do you call, somebody like myself, or when do you call a production company, right?
Yeah.
A video like this, it's pretty much, if you've got a story to tell, like I said, going back to the self-shot video,
Mhm.
if you've got a kind of maybe a longer story to tell, and maybe you've got some different visual elements that you kind of want to incorporate. Maybe it's some animation, maybe it's graphic things, maybe it's something that you're shooting that just needs quite a bit of shots, right? Look, I'm here to tell you that producing video is a full-time job, right? So even just the time factor alone can be a factor into how much time are you really going to delegate to producing your own videos, right?
Right.
So whenever you want to kind of explore more creative storytelling methods beyond just kind of a talking head, I would say that's probably when you may want to look at having video professionally produced. Now, these videos, I would say, are, they are an investment piece, right? That's going to cost you a little bit more,
Yeah.
right? But again, it's an investment, is the way I look at it. And they do take longer to produce, right? I'd say an average timeline for the stuff that I do, it's probably within 6 to 8 weeks from start to finish.
Mhm.
And there has to be a plan. If you're going to make this kind of an investment for having professionally shot video, you have to have a plan before you start as to what's the plan to get eyeballs to this particular video, right? Because if you made this investment in having something produced before you even start, there has to be a plan to drive traffic to see that video, right?
Right.
And
Well,
I
you
think
have to
this is
know the
where
expectation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think this is where, we're working with someone like you, Tanya, comes into play, is to have someone there who kind of knows a little bit more about, okay, well, what's the strategy behind getting a video made, and how are people going to see this, right? What's the plan for that,
Right.
right?
How's it going to be used?
Yep.
And an
So,
investment like this with a more polished video,
mhm,
you still could have some authenticity with it, but you definitely see in the production value a drastic difference in the quality of the video, the placement and the lighting and everything happening around it. So you can
Yep.
definitely tell a self-shot versus a professionally produced. These are they take more planning, they take more strategy, they make more time to produce. There is a bigger cost, but there is also longevity with these. This
True.
isn't something that you're going to create, toss up on Facebook and forget it. This is
Right.
something that you're planning on using throughout a
Mhm.
conversational strategy of your brand, weeks, months, even years after the production. So
Yes.
the investment in there is far worth it's worth the investment, I guess is what I'm saying, within that longevity. So
Exactly. Yeah. Should we talk a little bit about some common uses of video?
yeah,
Yeah.
let's jump into that.
Yeah. So like with this one right here, we're talking about video business cards, which I kind of mentioned a little bit, right? It's kind of basically just a 30-second video, or really no more than a minute. I think this one's probably closer to 45.
Yeah.
But the idea here is just, again, it can be used in lieu of a video, a business card. It can be live on the top of your social media page, and it's just introducing yourself, who you are, and what you do, right? And these can either be self-shot, or again, this is something that you can hire someone.
Yeah.
And I think the decision in terms of, well, should I shoot this myself, or should I hire someone to help me out with this? I think you have to consider your audience, right? Or if you're in professional services and somebody's kind of expecting more of a polished image from you, you may want to consider hiring someone to help you out with it. If it's something where maybe kind of, again, having that, again, leveraging the superpower of a self-shot video, where it's, again, you're kind of getting that true authenticity and kind of a no frills approach. You kind of just have to consider your audience, I think, in
Yeah.
terms of when do you go DIY or when do you hire somebody.
So when I look at something like this and I'm trying to decide between a DIY and a fully produced production like this, again, longevity is going to play a key factor in that. How is it going to be used? Where is it going to be used? How often is it going to be used? What is the expectation of that use? What is my budget? What is my time frame? There's a lot of things that play into that. And so, working with myself or Jason can help you kind of narrow that scope down and say, okay, here's probably the best avenue for you. So when I think of like the self shot, those might be great for like a social media introduction or a follow-up after a networking event, maybe, or I've even seen them like when you run ad campaigns and you've got like the 2-3-step campaign. Okay, right. So they've signed up for ABC and now they're going to the next step and you're like, wait, here's the video, right? Like before you leave, let's talk about this, right? And so that can be more personalized. But something like this, I've seen used in implementation for like onboarding new, whether they're new clients or even staff in your workforce. Something much more polished and internal, maybe that you need to have a lighter, a longer lifespan, maybe.
Sure. Yes. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Should we talk about
a little bit about testimonials?
Okay. So here are some examples of self-shot testimonials that you could still have branded. And again, there are tools and resources out there. Jason and I are going to go into a few of those in our workshop, in our hands-on workshop, and actually show people how to do this. We're going to actually walk through step by step with some of them. But this is as simple as, again, somebody sitting in front of their handheld or even their computer, hitting a button, recording their video, sending it to you. And with these software systems out there right now and these apps out there, you can easily add your branding to the forward and aft of that video to carry that branding through. And I don't know about you, Jason, but in my line of work, we're always talking to our clients, our business owners, our entrepreneurs about the power of reputation, building it and managing that reputation. And so the first thing we typically look at are things like Google reviews or some specific industry review platform. But the power of video to me and the authenticity that it brings to that brand is so powerful. It's one thing to read something about somebody. It's something completely different to see and hear somebody talking about your business and their experience. So, and again, those aren't anything really polished, but they feel more personal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's, again, yes, it's feeling more personal, and they're videos that are, like I said, we keep going back to this, but the main, what self-shot video does is it really kind of gives you kind of a feeling that what you're seeing is what you're getting. It's the real deal. They're
easier, they're faster, they're cost effective. They can hold your branding when you use platforms like this one. And again, that authenticity. What if we want to take it up a notch? What if we want a bigger story line and go more in depth? Then, or what are we looking at?
Yep. So some of the things that I work on are, and it's kind of an offshoot of a testimonial video. It's kind of taking the idea of a testimonial and kind of just raising it up a few notches. Tanya, what we're looking at now is something that I worked on with you, and we're just interviewing one of your clients and talking a little bit about what worked together. And it was the two of you kind of just having a conversation about what was her problem, what were the things that she needed to do, what was the solutions that you provided, and then what were the results, kind of outcropping of the two of you working together. But this kind of takes the testimonial concept and kind of just raises it up a few notches, right? It kind of gives you, you would call it maybe either a case study, perhaps, or kind of just a customer experience. What was the customer's experience like working with Tanya, right? What was that like? And so that was kind of the concept with something like this is just kind of talking a little bit about, you know, what
And,
again,
and
there's a
you,
problem, solution, result.
yeah, and you sat with me. We did a few of these together, and you sat with
Yep.
me a couple days, and we plotted out what is that conversation going to look like? Where is this going to take place? What is
Yep.
the feel that we want from this? What do we want the audience that's listening to it to take away from
Correct.
that? And where is it going to be used? You helped me plot all of that
Yep.
out from start to finish before you even started recording
Before we rolled out
anything.
anything.
Right.
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
So
it
you
was
made
a
it,
couple of meetings.
yeah, it was, but it made it such an easy, less stressful process, because somebody could try to
Yes.
produce this on their own. And we've talked about that. There's some
Yep.
really good quality phones out there, you know,
Yeah.
between your Samsungs and your iPhones, where you
Yep.
can put these stories together. But to get this
Yep.
after effect with all of these transitions and this polishing, and that
Mhm.
would take somebody, especially if it's not their business to do it, it would take them
Right.
hours, days, weeks, and you just
Exactly.
take all that process off their shoulders, and
Yep.
and the results speak for themselves. It was awesome.
Yep.
It was an awesome.
And you can even, great. I'm glad they worked out. If you show the next video, this kind of speaks again, kind of to that idea, right? Is that
Yeah.
kind of, again, this is kind of, this would be kind of more of a corporate client, but this could be used again in small business. There's really nothing here that's super complex in here. It's just kind of taking the time to kind of plan out the story that you want to tell, and kind of going out and kind of getting those images. And this is kind of where someone like myself can really help out, is kind of just figuring out kind of what are the beats, right? What are the main things that we need to touch on, and what are the things that we kind of need to kind of get across, and kind of what are some of the strong images that we can kind of utilize to help tell the story.
Yeah. So here's
So,
something I want people to think about when they're watching this.
mhm.
I've got the volume off right now, so you can't really hear, but the difference between a self shot and taking a software and trying to stitch it together yourself, the transitions aren't quite as smooth, especially
Right.
if you're trying to get over, contextual overlays and that. And you can see the transitions between these moving images is very smooth. But the other thing that a professional can do with professional software is take these images and have an audio overlay. So you're looking at other things that are helping to
Correct.
support that story line.
Yep.
And you're hearing somebody talking you through that storyline. There's not like
Yes.
a pause between those
Yep.
transitions. And again, you do that. You master that so well.
Oh, well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So,
Toot toot.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about brand story. If you want to go to the next.
Sure.
So yeah, again, I think another video, or another really great use for video, is kind of just telling a brand story, right? Whether that's kind of just explaining who you are, what you do, and kind of what makes you unique. But maybe there's certain problems that you're working on that you're trying to kind of solve, right? And you're just trying to kind of get your message out there. This is something that I work on quite a bit. This is someone that I'm working with Untied Vegetable Farms. And one of the problems that they're having is that they're having what they're noticing is that people are kind of less and less understanding where their food supply comes from.
Right.
The energy that it takes to have something arrive at your grocery store. So I've been working with them this summer to kind of create videos that kind of help explain kind of like what they do. What does it take to kind of grow a crop? And kind of just kind of explain. It's kind of an educational approach, and it's kind of an informational approach, right? So here we're kind of just on a tour with some customers of theirs, and they're kind of just explaining why are we doing this, right? Why do we go through all this trouble of taking
and
people
why
out
should
on the
we
tours?
care?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think brand stories kind of just convey kind of like who you are, and they talk about your why, right? and kind of what makes you really unique. And again, I think typically if you're going to do a brand story, I think you would probably want to go, you could certainly do self-shoot these, but I think kind of what makes them unique is kind of just being able to kind of incorporate different visuals, but also kind of help plan out kind of the different beats of the story that you want to tell.
So I want to talk about that for just a second, because
Yeah.
one of the things that we worked on when we had those big, I call them case studies again,
Yep.
but when I had my customer experience videos with you, we did long productions with the
Okay.
intent, right? That,
Mhm.
that we would have these bite-sized pieces that we could also then repurpose into
Yes.
emails and social media. And
Yep.
so working again with somebody that understands production at any level, or a brand manager at any level,
Yep.
can help you see the bigger picture and the
Yep.
long-term strategy for that, so that the investment that you're making, whatever that investment is, whether it's $50 or $5,000, you understand how that breaks down into value. And sometimes value isn't necessarily, we think ad campaigns and lead generation. Sometimes value is making the public understand the importance of what you do, and why you are the specialist, or why you are the professional to go to, or why you are the expert in this field, or why you do things the way you do, or why it matters. And I think this is a great example of that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's, this is something that they're doing on a couple different, so we're creating some longer format stuff, but then we're also kind of creating some shorter stuff too that they can use on social media, right? And I think this kind of goes to kind of what you were saying on repurposing. It's rare nowadays that I get a project where it's just one video, right?
Yeah.
Like when I started back in the mid 90s, it was kind of, you give somebody 1 8-minute video, and you'd hand them their VHS videotape, and that's their video, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays it's probably a package of videos, whether it's a half a dozen or a dozen, when again you're kind of what you were saying about repurposing those assets, right?
Right.
Where it's not just a video, it's okay, there might be one video that's kind of the flagship, but then that goes along with it, it's shorter videos that are clipped out that you can then use for different purposes, whether it's social media or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, supportive area.
Exactly.
One thing we didn't talk about here is the emergence of print and digital. So again, people think video, it's all online, it's all this, it's all that. But there are many times that I've helped clients use video to create the video as part of like a registration process, or event promotion or something like that, or an explainer video. In the magazines that I've been sending out, there's a little tab in there where people can see case studies, and you can create QR codes in print that take them directly to that video resource then. So it doesn't have to, when you're thinking about strategies and use of video, you can take that way beyond the fact that, okay, this is going on social media. Okay. Where else can we take it? How else can we utilize this? Where can we really get every penny of value out of this video? Right?
Yeah, that is true. And the resurgence of both print and QR codes, I think, is like
it helps with that. Yeah,
it's something. Definitely lean into those.
Yeah, or even the little shorteners. I think, like, I don't know if Google still has them, but like Bitly and Loomly, they have these little shortener URLs. So tools and resources that people can use. Again, we've talked about your biggest tool and resources right here in your hand is your phone. But Canva, there are a lot of free Canva accounts people can use and create video and branded video in there, right? So take your handheld video, upload it. Again, these are things that will help you walk through in our workshop in September. We're going to actually walk through building a branded self-shot video. And we're going to talk a little bit about some things that you are offering at that workshop that is like a huge value to people. So should we jump into that?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay. So we're going to do, this is the first one Jason and I are doing together. It's very limited seating because we want to make sure that we can give attention to everybody that's there. It's going to be September 21st. We're scheduling it from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It might be shorter depending on how many people sign up for the room, but we want to give, again, enough time to walk through the instruction that we're going to be providing. The cost is typically $185 when we roll this out to the rest of the public. That's what it's going to be at. But for people that are watching this today live, whether they're on my Facebook or they registered here or they're sitting here live with us today, if you book by Friday, is that the 25th? Yeah, Friday.
Yes, it is.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you use coupon code webinar attendee 2023, just as it's written here, webinar attendee 2023 at the checkout. You'll get $75 off that cost. So what does this all include? Again, you're going to get hands-on instruction for creating that a video content strategy for you, whether that's just this fourth quarter or you want to look at a long-term over the year. We're going to walk through who you are, what you're about, who you're trying to talk to, and how we can incorporate video into that strategy for you. Okay, then we're going to walk through actually creating your own branded video. We're going to walk through some of those tools and resources to show you how quick and simple that can be. So it doesn't have to be this overwhelming process for you in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah.
We're going to include some lunch. You're going to get some printed takeaways and tips from Jason and I. And then Jason is actually going to sit with you and record your own short little 30-second video business card, which is amazing. That's an amazing value. Guys, if you went anywhere else, just that piece alone could be anywhere from $300 to $1,000, depending on who you're working with for just that little bit. So this is an amazing value. I hope you guys will take advantage of it. Jason, did you want to say anything about it?
I think you covered it. And I think it's a pretty good deal. Yeah.
I think it's an amazing deal. Yes. And I'm so grateful to you for working with me on this to bring it to people that have been kind of sitting on the fence. They've been afraid of taking on a video strategy because it can feel overwhelming if you don't know where to turn or what to start with. So
yeah. I'm really excited to be working with you on this because I've kind of encountered a lot of things too. A lot of people who are kind of on the fence about should I, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
So I think this will be a great opportunity.
Tammy's on the call. She just chatted and said, this is a great deal. And she's right. It's amazing. And I'm just so, first of all, I'm honored that Jason and I have been able to work together on some projects over the last couple of years now. But just very grateful that you're taking this journey with me and bringing this to people. So.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So again, we will send out a follow-up with the link that you can register to, or if you just scan this QR code down here in the left-hand side, or go to Back2Basics that should take you to the landing page as well, where you can sign up for the workshop. Again, you need to put in that webinar attendee 2023. That's only good through Friday. Otherwise, it's going to go back up to the normal cost, which is still an outstanding deal. I'm just so grateful to Jason.
It really is.
Yeah. But if you guys have any questions in the meantime, feel free. We're going to stick around for a few minutes. You can put them in the chat below, or we can follow up with you after the fact. Thank you again for attending today. I appreciate it. And Jason, thank you for all your expertise and friendship and professionalism and
right back at you.
Talent. Kudos.